Welcome back to S3 The Lab. We are here with Tak-san. You're the president of Graphite Design.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having us, being out here today. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Bill McPherson, we've got the VP of Sales here for Pro's Choice Golf Shafts, Graphite Design.
Correct.
Mark Timms from Cool Clubs. And this is an exciting day, as always. Yep. Graphite Design, we get once a year normally the chance to get together and talk about a new golf shaft. And today we've got GC.
GC, correct.
Lead us in, give us a little bit of an idea. I like starting with a naming convention.
Yeah,
and then we can build on
that's
the
one thing
story.
we're known for is the acronym, DI, Deep Impact, IZ, Into the Zone, VF, Victory Force, GC, Game Changer.
Okay.
The tagline being innovation will always be the biggest game changer.
Okay.
Yeah, so GC is a unique shaft in that it incorporates a couple new design elements, both in the butt to midsection and the mid to tip section. In the butt section, we're doing a little bit of manipulation with stiffness using some material technology we call AD shield. And then in the mid to tip section, we've kind of increased the outside diameter, the OD, a little bit to stiffen up the shaft without adding weight. So we've developed a lighter weight shaft that's still strong for the players that are looking for something that's stable, smooth, and has that traditional graphite design feel.
Awesome. Well, S3 Technology, S3 The Lab is all about data-driven results. So we're going to come at it today from less of like the sales pitchy kind of term, and we're going to go down the route where you're just talking about, the tech stuff. We're using our S3 machine to measure these golf shafts. So we're going to measure up what Mark's measured on the machine with your information, and try and give everyone out there a good idea of like when they're going to get fit for a graphite design product. Should they be looking at this as the option? Should they be mentioning this to their fitter? And where is it going to lie? And what does it do out in the field? So I think you've given us a good intro on the raw basics. Well, let's dive into a little bit about what those design features turn into from an EI curve, from stiffness, those kind of things.
Well, like I said, the concept of the new GC shaft is really to target all players, but players that maybe have a stronger tempo, a little faster swing speed, that want a shaft that stays with them. Granted, our VF, which is also a new shaft, does just that, but it does launch the ball low.
Yes.
It is a very stiff shaft. Where GC, with the incorporation of, like I say, AD shield technology and what we've got going on in the tip section with a little larger OD, it creates a stiffer shaft, but it doesn't lose that feel, that what I call boardiness.
Right.
It maintains that feel. Mark, I know, has some really neat numbers here that we've put together.
We kind of looked at it and pulled up a couple numbers and stuff, and what you're saying makes total sense, right? So it's like 15 CPMs higher at the same flex, which is a flex and a half stiffer, which is quite a bit. Tiny bit lower torque, which is, obviously that makes it a little stiffer as well. And it's kind of mid-launching shaft, which totally makes sense. But, you mentioned that the geometry's changed, which is one of the things we'd like to start measuring in the future, which you'll probably work on. Basically a wider diameter through the mid and tip section, which, in steel shafts, what that does essentially is as you change diameter, that's almost 10x what the material thickness change. Now, steel is obviously a homogeneous material. Material is the same, so as you increase diameter, it gets a lot stiffer. As you increase wall thickness, it gets a little stiffer. Same thing happens with graphite to some extent, right? So as you're increasing that diameter, you're making it quite a bit stiffer, which is what we're seeing from the CPMs.
Right. So that was the idea, to maintain that stiffness from the butt all the way to the tip.
Right.
We kind of incorporated two things.
Yeah, but you've got a shaft that's now flex and a half stiffer, but it's actually lighter.
Lighter in weight. That's what I was going to simply say. It's technically 2 grams lighter than a DI in the 6S Flex.
That's awesome. I mean, two staples of the industry. DI has been around forever. Obviously, it's been a dominant shaft in the industry. Yeah. And now we've seen some great players move into VF. So this is kind of bridging the middle gap there for maybe feel-wise in the VF
the stronger
range.
players who don't hit it high, basically.
Exactly. A stronger player that needs something that gets the ball up in the air but doesn't throw it way up in the air.
Right.
So right in between DI and VF, GC.
So that's a great one for you. Anyone who's out there who's played DI. And always, those guys are wanting to change shafts. It's worth looking at because you're going to get some feel differences for there and maybe a little different ball flight. And then someone who might have tried VF and it's just coming out too flat, they can back off to this to get the feel of VF, but the DI flight.
And for what I'm looking at numbers here too, potentially you could even back down a flex and still probably get, so we should make it quite a bit lighter.
Right.
Or even go down maybe to a lighter version of it at the same person. I mean, obviously not for the tour players are swinging really hard, or 60s and 70s, obviously. But for your average guy, if you're in a 6 DI, you probably could go to a 5 in this, maybe.
You could go down to a 5S,
Right.
and that's,
And
you know, the
so-
one thing I always say is
Right.
play the lightest, softest shaft
Yeah,
that goes straight,
exactly.
right? And this is the great opportunity to try just that.
Yep.
Being that it is stiffer in frequency, back off, maybe even not only a 5S, try a 5R1. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised.
Right.
So that does kind of widen out the opportunity to try going lighter and softer to see if you can gain speed and ultimately distance.
Yeah. The only downside, to, occasionally, and you know, we haven't hit this yet and played around with it. In general, though, wider diameter feels stiffer and feel a little more boardy. So it'll be interesting to see if we see that, and that counteracted by going lighter and a little softer probably is a pretty good combination. But we'll have to see that.
I look forward to hearing how that
Okay.
goes. That's getting technical.
Jump into the EI, Mark. I want to show off the software
Yep.
to everyone out there a little
Okay.
bit. And everyone kind of does EI different to us. You know, we come in second,
Yeah.
our EI is from left to right versus
Well, we're just
everyone's
comparing
right to
with
left.
their stuff, and everybody, most people do it the other way around, right? So we look at the butt end of the shaft on our charts, it's to the far left. And the only reason it's that way is because that's the way we built the machine. We probably should have built it the other way around, but anyway. So that's just how our graphs go. Most other companies have the graphs the other way around. The tip is on the left-hand side. So, but that being said, you know, we looked at your EI curves, and what you're saying is very similar, if not identical, to what we're seeing here. And if you look at, you know, the couple different shafts you got here, this compared to a DI is just overall just a little higher on the EI, pretty much all the way down. That's the wider diameter doing that, obviously in the materials and stuff.
So that's the stiffer CPM showing up there.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
Basically, the higher, both the mid, the tip. Well, the tip may be a little bit stiffer. The mid's quite a bit stiffer, and so is the butt. So those three things are what made the whole frequency go up,
Right.
like 15 cycles, which is about a flex at least, flex and a half. But yeah, that's kind of cool though. So you've got basically a stiffer shaft that's lighter, and launches, you know, probably a little bit, obviously higher than the VF for sure.
Right, but not as high as
But not
DI,
quite as high as
is what
DI.
the expectation
Yeah.
would be.
I can see a lot of strong players in the 6s and 7s that fits into, especially with heads now because they're so low spin, right? You got these super low spin heads, and you know the VF on top of a low spin head. If you're not a high spin player, I mean it falls out of the sky. So
Right.
Yeah.
I can see that working into a lot of tour players as well.
And we've got the same shape EI, so this is the Graphite Design feel story, right? That EI curve is what
Yeah.
Graphite Design is about.
Exactly.
You know, and you just
Smooth.
tweak it to make it fly
And that's one
different.
thing we'll say about all the Graphite Design shafts. Are all similar in EI profile, which is kind of a classic, you know, stiffer the butt and gradually getting softer. The great news on that is they all feel good. You know,
Yes.
anytime you see an EI curve like that, you're like, that's going to feel decent.
Yep.
You know, you see some of the, you know, straighter ones or some other kind of
The
odd looking.
steps.
Yeah, then
yeah.
you're like,
It's like,
yeah,
what's
it's
going
not
on?
going to feel, but these all feel great. So even though it's, you know, the wider diameter, which typically would hurt feel, I don't think you're going to see that in this shaft.
Well, I like this. I think this is like kind of a middle of the park, and definitely geared towards the new golfer that's out there. You know, there's a lot more power that seems to be out there in every level of the game.
Right.
So this is going to hit that
And
mark.
what weight ranges are you going to do in this?
So GC will be offered in 45 grams,
Oh, wow. All the way down to
55
45.
grams, 65, 75, and then 85 X Flex. So we've got, you know, the R2, which is our senior light flex,
Right.
R1 meaning regular, stiff flex, SR in the 60 grams, stiff regular, S and X in the 7 and 8. Yeah.
And I haven't looked through all of these, but I would assume the softer, lighter ones probably launch a little higher relative
Exactly.
to the other
Mark.
ones,
Yeah,
right?
relative to the other ones. There's a 5X in the mix. There's a 6 tour
that's
extra
interesting.
stiff and a 7 tour extra stiff as well. So we've got it pretty well covered.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
lightweight, soft, all the way to super stiff
And the stiffest 4 is how stiff?
stiff S.
Make it S in a 4.
Yep,
Okay.
a 4S.
And that's
Yep.
46 or 7 grams or so, right?
Right around there. Yep.
Okay, that's an interesting one too.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I love Graphite Design. It fits into what we do, a day-to-day business. You know, lots of different profile options, giving our fitters the best chance to dial it in absolutely perfect. I know that's something that Graphite Design go after, is supporting the fitting program. It's only to authorised dealers. So that's what we urge you to do, is get out there, find your authorised dealer, your Cool Club's location near you, and make sure you get fit for your Graphite Design product and get the most out of these high-quality golf
Don't
shops.
assume that if you're playing the DI 6 stiff that you go straight into this one. So
Not in this
you're
case.
going to want to
maybe,
try
not
it for
so
sure.
much. You definitely
Yeah.
want to try it, no
Yeah.
doubt. Yeah.
Well, head to our website, book a fit in today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.